Hey everybody, thank you for joining. Today I just kind of want to go over some of my testimony. I've gone through a little bit of it in the past, but today I want to kind of dive into a lot more of it, kind of where I was born, what happened through my childhood and the teenage years, and kind of what happened when I gave my life to Satan, and how the Lord saved me and has redeemed my life and brought me out of the kingdom of darkness and brought me into the kingdom of the Son that he loves so much. That's my life verse, Colossians 1, 17 and 18. It's a good one. Well, it's Colossians 13, 13 and 14. Chapter 1, verse 13 and 14. Says, he has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of his love, in whom we have redemption through his blood and the forgiveness of sins. I like it more in the Message. This is the New King James, which is a great translation. Anyway, let's get into my testimony. I was born in Corvallis, Oregon in 1989 in May, on May 24th, 1989. So I'm 37, 36. Yeah, around there. Anyway, I was born to Brett and Betty Shannon. They ended up divorcing when I was 4, and me and my sister went to live with my grandma and great-grandma, my grandma and her mom, basically, at Tri-Center Homes in Corvallis, Oregon. Tri-Center Homes was kind of like a halfway home for people coming out of jail. I think Tina Turner went through there one time. It's kind of silly. But I lived at Tri-Center Homes until I was maybe 10 or so. I don't have a whole lot of memories from there. I remember I hung out in the woods a lot and played in the forest. There was no iPhones when I was a kid. I barely watched TV, didn't really watch video games. I got a Nintendo when I was like 13 or something. I had to share it with my stepbrother. But anyway, I'll get into that later. So I lived at Tri-Center until I was about 10 or so. Then my dad got married to a gal named Dawn. He'd known her for 5 whole days after they got married, and then me and my sister moved back with my dad away to my new family up in Salem, Oregon. We spent a few years there. We kind of bounced around a little bit while they were married. Moved up to Washington for a minute, on the Washington-Idaho border. Can't remember what town it was called, but anyway, they were together for about 5 years, and I've pretty much spent all my life in the Pacific Northwest. I'm a tea lover. I've got some nice hot tea here. Apparently somebody else is here too. Probably not for the tea. Anyway, so during my dad and Dawn's marriage, we kind of went to church, and I had an understanding about God. I had an understanding about Satan and the enemy as well. And my sister and I were kind of going through some verbal abuse, and sorry, there's some noise out there. My sister and I went through some verbal abuse. It wasn't anything too horrible, it just wasn't fun, you know. I like to treat kids, you know, how I want to be treated, and I think it's not good. Anyway, Dawn kind of favored her kids over us in my experience and opinion. I know she might not feel that way, but that's how it was through my eyes. My dad was home pretty much for dinner every night, and that was about it. I mean, I'm thankful for that. He was in the car business most of his life. But yeah, he was gone for most of the day, and we were in school, and then we'd come home, and Dawn was there, and she just wasn't very pleasant. And I do have good memories of Dawn. I'm not trying to say she was constantly a horrible person, but her actions really stirred me up in a bad way. And one day she was abusing my sister verbally, and I was like, well, God, if you don't step in right now, I'm gonna just give my heart over to Satan, because I knew God was real, I knew Satan was real, and God didn't step in like I wanted. So that day I gave my heart over to Satan, and just a massive like rebellion entered me. I mean, I know all teens kind of go through a rebellious stage, but I'd say this was more influenced by the enemy. I was kind of obsessed with like torture and killing and murder, and yeah, it just wasn't good. I'm just trying to think through here. I think it was about the age of 13 when I gave my life over to Satan and just began to spiral into a lot of wickedness. And from about 13 to 18, my heart just grew in rebellion and wickedness. I got into all the things of this world. I didn't really have any convictions in my heart about moral standards or what I should or shouldn't be doing. And so I just went headlong into sex, drinking, drugs, yeah, the whole thing. And when I was about 15, my dad had divorced Dawn, and me and my sister went back to move with my grandma. Only this time, my grandma and her mom, my great-grandma, were not running Tri-Center Homes. They had retired and moved into Philomath. My great-grandma bought a little trailer with the money she got from Tri-Center. They gave her like a final check or something of like 90 grand. This is my recollection. And she bought a trailer park trailer on, and they have to pay rent on the land or whatever, but she owned the trailer. So that's where they lived in Philomath, and that's where I spent a lot of my older teenage years, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, long time. I spent a lot of time in Philomath and Corvallis, and I love those towns. They're great. There's not a lot to do in Philomath, but it's okay. So I started 6th grade in Crossler Middle School in Salem, Oregon, and I don't have a ton of memories even of this time or when my dad was married to Dawn. A lot of my memories start when we went to live at Grandma Neva's again, around 13 or 15, I mean. My ages are estimated at this point. I haven't done like a deep dive and gotten dates. I'd love to do that, but it takes a while and I just haven't done it yet. So once I do, I'll redo this video in a couple of years and we'll see how it goes. But I started at Crossler Middle School in Salem, and by the end of the year in 6th grade, I was living in Philomath, going to PMS, which was Philomath Middle School. So that's a fun fact. But I went to Kaiser Elementary School. I think so. Like I said, my memories kind of hit and miss. I remember more of my later teenage years, but I do have a handful of memories from when I was a kid. But I made a few friends in the Philomath Middle School, mostly the wrong crowd. I just kind of got into drugs, weed, mushrooms, drinking, and yeah, just partying. Kind of didn't. My grandma kind of let me do whatever she wanted just because she was busy all the time. So Yeah, actually spent a lot of time out in the forest by Grandma's house as well, and I was building the fort. And these neighbor kids came in, and I usually have like a machete or a big knife or something when I'm building a fort to chop stuff down. And I took my big old machete. It was a big kitchen knife at the time, and I held it to this neighbor's neck. I told him I'd kill him if he came in my fort. Apparently, I was very serious about my fort. But apparently, the cops are pretty serious about putting knives to people's throat. That's called menacing, I found out. When he went home and told his parents, they called the police. I got arrested. I ended up having to be on parole. I didn't go through a lot of stuff. I didn't go to court, anything like that. I was just like, hey, here's your, I think it's like 16 hours of community service. And I don't even remember like ever peeing in a cup or anything. I remember I did my community service at the Nazarene Christian School that was set up by my great grandma. And that's how I ended up going to Nazarene Christian School. Was I did my community service there, and my grandma worked it out so that I could go to Nazarene Christian School. It was just behind the Dairy Queen in Philomath. If you're familiar with Philomath, you'd appreciate that. I think it's just a church now. I don't really know. I haven't gone past there in a while. But my great grandma would volunteer, and that would help pay my tuition. And when I was like 16, the principal called me off in this office and was like, hey, you need to start paying your tuition now. So I got a job, and I paid a little bit of my tuition for like a month or two, and I was like, this is dumb. I'm just going to go work. So I got a job. I was working at McDonald's. I worked there for like a year. I saved up about $1,000 until my dad needed that money, and I later found out it was drug money for him. He was pretty bad into drugs. So yeah, that was rough. But yeah, that's kind of when I was 16. And after I dropped out, I just went even more crazy because I didn't have any place to be at. I went to work, a few days a week. I was doing part-time. And the rest of the time I was just drinking, partying, doing what I wanted. And I loved it. I thought it was great. I was studying killing. I was torturing animals at the time. I later found out that the person I was torturing, their animal, they tried to turn me in after I got saved. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. I mean, I understand it, but just, yeah, crazy stuff. I guess I'm thankful I never got in any legal trouble, because that's pretty serious stuff. So yeah, that was not ideal, but thank God for his redemption and grace and forgiveness. I wouldn't be here without it. So after McDonald's and working for them for a while, I just was like, whatever, I don't really care about working. And I ended up moving down to Texas with my dad for a little bit when I was like 17 or 18-ish. I was a size 54 pants. I was about 420 pounds, hated life, hated everybody. I was watching porn just hours a day, super addicted to that, just an addicted mindset really to anything. Living with my grandma, didn't have much supervision. Yeah, thank God that he died for me while I was still in my sin. Oh, also at the Christian school, I had to cut my hair a certain way and follow a dress code. I couldn't wear whatever I want. I had to wear slacks and a halfway button-up collared shirt. It was baby blue. Got a dark blue sweater that said NCS on it. If we wanted to wear a sweater, I'd always wear my sweater, just because I was self-conscious about my weight. I wasn't super big growing up. when Dad and Dawn divorced, and I moved back to Grandma Neva's, I could eat whatever I want, and she just kept the cupboards full, and I just ate like a lot. So I gained a lot of weight and was just not doing very good. I remember my heart was growing darker. I would cut myself. I still have a bunch of scars. I got tattoos over the scars. Thank God. I got Jehovah Rapha, the Lord who heals me, and a dove and a raven over my scars. I used to have the F word and love, so just didn't like love. I had an upside down cross. I just would carve all over. I think I carved hate into my stomach one time. So yeah. And then I met this guy named Jeff Appelt. He has since passed away. He got killed by the police. He was strung out on drugs and went after a policeman with a knife, saying he was going to kill him. So the officer shot him and killed him. I just thank the Lord that that wasn't my path, because this guy was my best friend for years. We were in a small town. We were like the wannabe gangsters. We took a bunch of Xanax and Percocet, and we would drink, smoke pot, do pretty much anything we could get a hold of. We'd snort pills, we would smoke pills, like it was crazy. There was a saying, DGAF, it's DGAF, and it's don't give a blank, F word in the blank. So yeah, that was what was like a saying when I was a teen, and I loved that idea. And there was like a group called Juggalos and ICP, and some people might know about that. I got the Juggalo or the Hatchet Man tattoo when I was 18. Since then I got Scooby-Doo. But anyway, yeah, it's just crazy. I was super into ICP and Juggalos and Juggalettes, and yeah, just crazy what I used to be into. So growing up, yeah, didn't really have iPhones or a smartphone at all. I had a flip phone when I was like 15, 16. Wasn't even a color flip phone. I remember my first color flip phone when I was working at McDonald's. I got myself a Razr, like the original Razr, not the new weird smartphone Razr. But it was a Razr phone from Verizon. I thought I was the coolest kid ever. I could text so fast on it, and yeah, it's crazy. But I gave up having a cell phone when I got saved. I got saved when I was like 20. Just living crazy. I was partying from like 18, 19 into 20. Studying killing as well. I was really liked the idea of killing my family and going on a shooting spree and maybe planting a couple bombs somewhere. I played a lot of Grand Theft Auto, and I just liked the idea of killing people. I liked the thought of immediate control and what that would do to people. I wanted to hurt women and children. I don't want to use the language for YouTube's sake, but yeah, do non-consensual things to women, and yeah, just eat people. I thought that was cool. I was into Brother Lynch Hung. Some people might be familiar with that. He was really into the idea of eating people, and I thought that sounded cool. Like, I don't know why. I think I was just, under the enemy's influence and in a really bad mindset in a really dark place. I'm sure a lot of other people have been there too. So yeah, it's crazy times. I thank you for Jesus. When I was about 20, my dad had this experience where he, at about 3 a.m, woke me up screaming at the top of his lungs that Jesus was coming. And Jesus was returning and he saw this light, and me knowing God and knowing Satan, and I was just like, man, Jesus, if this is real, I need to be prepared. So like the next year after that prayer, it was just personal revival, reading the word, praying, getting discipled by my great grandma. She was a pastor's wife for like 70 years, so she knew the Bible in and out, and I saw her in the word all the time. Yeah, thank you, Lord, for taking me out of the kingdom of darkness. So anyway, I didn't really have a phone for a long time. They weren't really a big thing. I didn't care to have one. And especially being saved, I didn't work. I was really sick. So yeah, didn't want to add the expense. But when I was about 18, I started getting really sick. Started losing weight pretty rapidly. I had this burning pain in my stomach, and it ended up being Crohn's. It took the doctors a year to find out. I lost over 100 pounds in that year, almost died. I went through malnourishment. I've since died almost a few times from malnourishment. But right now I'm pretty healthy, healthiest I've been in years. But yeah, anyway, back to Jeff Appel and how I met him. Guy at the Christian school. One of my friends at the Christian school introduced me to Jeff. Jeff was like a foster kid in Andrew's household at one point, and I was pretty close with Andrew's household, and yeah, they lived in my little neighborhood. They would take me to school at times. But Andrew was cool, but he, was obsessed with his girlfriend, and Jeff was just chill and just wanted to hang out and party, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. So we got into that. At one point, Jeff came to live with us because he didn't really have a place to go, and I was friends with him, and that was not a good idea. He ended up stealing my grandma's car and getting in a police pursuit. Just kind of did a lot of things that weren't really becoming of a man. So yeah, just Andrew was a good guy. He is a good guy. He just likes girls, which that's fair. But me and Jeff got into some crazy stuff. We got into selling weed, selling pills, partying. We would steal the pills from my grandma. She would get hundreds of them at a time, and I would just like take half and just disappear for like a week or two. There's literally weeks out of my life that I don't remember from just being so pilled out and messed up. So yeah, around 18, 19, I was a mess. I hated everyone, even my family. Even the woman I was going out with, I was pretty much using her. I was evil. I was horrible to her. I wasn't really paying attention to her. I was abusing her dog. Like, I was always just looking for the next high or the next thing to numb me out. And I didn't care about anybody. I was rude to my little brother. Like, I feel horrible about that. I could have been a good brother, and I was just so mean to him. We've since made up and have a decent relationship in my mind. I wish it was closer, but it is what it is. Life is life. He lives hundreds of miles away and has a job and a family and whatever. But December 10th, 2009 was